Hey, Clemson family, we are glad you're joining us again. There is a lot going on campus. We just talked a lot of football in our previous episode yesterday. Today, we are going to get into a couple more big sports on campus. Baseball is off to a huge start, thank goodness, including a sweep of the Gamecocks. That is always fun. But we are also going to get into some more pressing business. I'm Bill Zimmerman. This is the Reign Supreme Always podcast.
I'm Daniel Shirley. Yeah, we're getting into men's basketball, and we haven't really talked a lot of men's basketball. We've been off for a little bit, but here we go. Right, we're into March Madness, or we're into March, and then the madness starts next week. But wouldn't it be great for this team that set the regular season wins record, did something no Clemson team has ever done? How about do something else no Clemson team has ever done and win the ACC tournament? Let's just get that. Brad Brownell the last few years has gotten some monkeys off the Clemson program's back. The win at North Carolina, now the regular season record, the Elite Eight trip, all that stuff. They've been to the Elite Eight once before, but again, another Elite Eight trip. Let's go win the ACC tournament and do something no Clemson basketball team has ever done.
I don't know. Is he going to be tempted to just make it a one and done and have his team prepped and refreshed and rested and ready
Worked
for the
last
big
year,
dance?
right? Yeah, worked last year.
Exactly. But really, this ACC this year is very gettable, I think. You're looking at basically Duke and Louisville. Clemson went what 1-1 against them in the regular season, I do believe.
Right.
Just what a job by Pat Kelsey turning things around at Louisville. We've mentioned his name on this podcast a little bit before, never in reference to the Louisville job being open or taken by him. A lot of respect for him is really what we're getting at. So it really comes down to Duke under Shire, Louisville under Kelsey, and Clemson under Brad Brownell, who really seems to have found quite the formula the last 10 months. Can he continue? And what's doing really well for the Tigers? I mean, I know Viktor Lakhin really seemed to turn things around right before that Duke game and just in time for that Duke game, and has just been on a tear ever since.
Yeah, he played great down the stretch, and obviously, teams tried to take Chase Hunter away, and you saw Chase Hunter's numbers kind of go down a little bit at the end of the regular season. Well, Viktor Lakhin stepped up. Jaden Zachary stepped up. Ian Schieffelin stepped up. Other guys have stepped up. The bench has played okay at times, and they're going to need the bench to step up in this postseason because more guys are going to have to play some more minutes. But look, if you just said you take PJ Hall and Joe Girard off that team last year that went to the Elite Eight, had a double-digit lead against Alabama in the first half of the Elite Eight, and right there to go to the Final Four for the first time in program history. You take those two guys off the team and other guys who left, RJ, Godfrey left as well. You say, well, is this team going to get back to that level? Well, they've been better during the regular season. Now, we'll see how it performs in the postseason because that team last year did something that only one other Clemson team has done, and that's get to the Elite Eight. And that was back before the field had expanded. That was a 32-team field. So, or was that for? It might have been 48, but it was before it was 64 for
Right.
sure. And so, can this team match that? Man, if it matches an Elite Eight trip, I think you look at this run and go, my goodness. I mean, what is this team? Look what this team has accomplished with all these guys leaving, the last few years. So, just really impressed by what Brad Brownell has done. Look, we've been hard on him since we've started this podcast. I've been harder on him privately, I think, between you and I than I have been on the podcast. But
And somewhere in between on the Twitter feed, I would say.
well, I think so. But I'm it's I think I've been fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it took longer than it should have for the program to build under him. It probably took longer than it should have for everybody to get behind him too, as far as the administration and support. And you still turn on games now and there's empty seats in the front row, which drives me crazy. But he's done a great job. You can't deny that. And it's this program is in a great spot right now. Can they keep that going the rest of this year and into next year and all that? We'll see. But man, I think if you're a Clemson fan, you got to be excited about what this team can do in the ACC tournament. Let's just start there and see what happens. And they'll play either Syracuse or SMU in the first round. then obviously they'll get Louisville or whoever in the second in the semifinals. But I say first round, the quarterfinals, first round for Clemson.
Right.
I think there's a shot for them to do something. They've already beaten Duke once. Can they beat them again? Um, Bill, it's going to be hard, but I do think they have the formula to beat Duke. I think you've got to beat Duke up. I think you got to be physical with them. I think you got to be big, and Clemson is both of those things. So, that's going to be interesting. But it starts with the first game, right? I mean, you can't lose to Syracuse or SMU, and then go from there. Right? I mean, you got to win this game and then see what happens. But even Brad Brownell has said today. I was listening as we record this. I was listening to his news conference previewing the tournament. He said, I haven't had a lot of success in this tournament. And he's talking about the ACC tournament. And he said, let's just go win the first game and don't worry about anything else. And I think that's got to be the approach, especially now in this part of the season where, you get to next week, it's one and done. So you can't be looking ahead.
Yeah. They absolutely have to be firing on all cylinders, I think, to be able to get to the ACC tournament final and possibly win the ACC tournament for the first time, which also means being healthy. Now, we've seen how effective this team has been. I'm not sure that the schedule down the stretch has been all that challenging. It certainly wouldn't be as challenging as Louisville and Duke potentially back to back, especially after coming off of either Syracuse or SMU and then having to play on three straight nights. Is Ian Schieffelin healthy enough to do that? Is the rest of the team conditioned enough for that? These are things that you just don't find out during the regular season because you don't see them play typically three high quality opponents back to back to back.
Well, and you typically, what's the fewest days you have off in between games is that Saturday, Monday. And that doesn't happen very often. I think they only played one Saturday, Monday, stretch during the ACC season. Now, back in December and you're playing in the tournaments, yeah, you're playing back-to-back days, but it's December. It's a different schedule.
Right.
Brad Brownell said that Ian Schieffelin's as healthy as he's been right now, which is good, right? The back problems have eased up. Chase Hunter was dealing with, I think it was his hamstring or groin, down the stretch. I think this week should help, being off from Sunday to Friday night and then playing the late game Friday night. You would think that would help get everybody healthy. And we'll see. Again, this team I think it has more options than they've had in the past. And look, we saw last year Chase Hunter put this team on his back in the NCAA tournament. If he could do that again this year, I think there's a chance for them to do something special. It feels like they're going to be a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. And again, that depends on what happens this weekend. And it all starts on Friday. But, again, if you're healthy, this team has the talent. I think it has the balance. It's a better defensive team than last year. I think last year's team had to win with its offense. It's got the depth, I believe. I like Chauncey Wiggins coming off the bench. And they've got some other guys who can help them off the bench. So, there's depth, there's talent, there's versatility. Jaden Zachary is a bulldog on defense. I love that. But you got to go do it, right? We can talk about it all day long. You just got to go do it now. And it's been a great regular season. Like you said, the ACC is probably as bad as it's ever been in our lifetimes. So, did they just take advantage of the conference being down? I don't know. People said the conference was down last year and 3 teams got to the Elite Eight. So, we'll see. But I like where this team is right now. I like its chances. And then maybe somebody upsets Duke. Maybe UNC gets Duke in the semifinals and you play UNC. Who knows? But it's going to be fun to watch for sure. And, UNC won their first game in the conference tournament and, looked pretty good doing it. So, and they're playing for their lives. Their NCAA tournament lives are on the line. If they probably have to get to the final to be a tournament team. So, I'd say just put it all out there on the line and go try to win the thing.
Yeah. And, last year's early exit from the ACC tournament didn't really hurt them as far as the
No,
NCAA field. And that's why I like you bringing up the history of trying to get that first ACC tournament title, because that's something this team could really hang its hat on. You're not so much worried about are you five, are you seven, like where are you going to get seeded? And they certainly have a good seed locked up. They certainly have a bid locked up without question.
sure.
So there's that little piece of motivation if you're looking for something to say, hey, go do something that has never been done on this campus and, maybe bring in that sort of Dabo mentality of why not us?
Yeah, I mean that's how you got to look at it, right? Nobody's going to pick them to win the ACC tournament.
Right.
Nobody's going to pick them to go on a deep run in the NCAA tournament, even after what they did last year. Nobody's going to. People are going to pick other teams. That's fine. Don't worry about that kind of stuff. Just go play your best and go for it. And I wouldn't want a team to win the ACC tournament at the detriment of next week, right? And the 2 weeks after. But, why not do both?
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's got to be the mentality of this group. And I'll tell you, Bill, the thing that I like about this team is this team seems like a serious group, right? They don't take anything for granted. They're not, hey, we went there last year. That's what was going to happen this year. And you got guys who came to this team for this moment, right? Yep. In Lakhin and Zachary and Miles Foster. And then you got guys who, and those guys too, this is their last run. And Chase Hunter and Ian Schieffelin, it's their last chance. So I don't get the feeling that they're going to be goofing off or taking things lightly or not ready to go. I think they're going to be focused and ready to play.
Dabo's got the Roy bus. Maybe they can come up with a grit train or a grit wagon or something like that. I know they got the chef hats going on, and maybe they can pick up enough speed in some kind of vehicle to have those hats blow off in the wind with unmitigated success. Who knows? ClemsonKickoff.com is where you can find us at home. We are also on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, at Clemson Kickoff. We've actually got our little domain in the Blue Sky handle there, a fun little feature that they have. We're just trying to reach everybody out there who wants to connect with the program. Definitely, if you want to comment, and we would love for you to comment, we'd like for you to point out the things maybe we didn't talk about. YouTube.com/Clemson Kickoff. Get this episode. This is where most of you are watching anyway. Just throw something down in the comments down below. Make sure you subscribe and help us keep this a free podcast, which is what we are committed to making sure it is. Let's go ahead and get into the early start for baseball. And it seemed to me like that South Carolina series was maybe a little early on the schedule this year. You haven't seen a lot of other big non-conference matchups taking place in that particular weekend. But boy, Daniel, you and I were kind of concerned about where the baseball team was out of the blocks, and they really just flipped the switch to make sure that they took care of the South Carolina Gamecocks. I thought that sweep was pretty unexpected. I know on paper it should have happened, but in a rivalry, usually somebody's going to get one game, and they just looked fantastic.
Yeah, look, if you're a Clemson baseball fan, the ACC is what it matters, right? The SEC is just like playing another ACC, or South Carolina is just like playing another ACC series. That series means as much to Clemson baseball fans as anything on the schedule. Now, I'm not going to say, hey, go lose all your ACC games and everything's great. No, or be 500 in the ACC. But to win that series the way they did, I don't think they ever trailed in the series. I believe that's right.
Might be. I saw something on that about social media. I don't remember what point in the series they said that.
Right. A great series all around. And, look, they took advantage of South Carolina's bullpen for most of that series at the end of the games. But you play 9 innings, right? You hear coaches say it all the time in the other sports. Oh, you got to play 60 minutes in football. In basketball, you got to play 40 minutes. Well, baseball, it's 9 innings. And, the slow starts for this team do concern me a little bit at times. They've had some games against some lesser competition where they've been behind the first few innings and they've come back and had to win games late. But, Bill, you just mentioned grit for the basketball team. You're finding ways to win games. That matters. And that's been a hallmark of the Eric Bakich era with this
Yes.
team. Even if they're playing, a little lesser competition at time during the midweek, they're winning those games, and it is about winning the games. And it hasn't hurt them when they've gotten into ACC play that, oh, they're playing some lesser competition in the midweek and they've been behind. They've carried that winning culture mentality over to the ACC. Even his first year, remember, they weren't very good early in the ACC. And then they fought back at the end of the year and made the tournament, won the ACC tournament title. So there's a fight to this group and this culture that I think you got to be excited about as a Clemson fan. Now, yeah, I'd like to see the lineup get going a little bit more. Even the first game against Liberty on Tuesday of this week, and Liberty's got a pretty good program. They got up early and didn't do anything the last 5 innings on offense, but then the bullpen got the job done. So, I there's just something about this group. I love, what a great hire by Graham Neff with Eric Bakich, and he's doing great things with this program, and they're off to a great start to this year, and we'll see if they can keep it up.
I'll tell you, I was really concerned in the offseason with the players that this team lost from last season,
Yep.
and so many guys having to come in. There were several transfers who came in. You have a nice recruiting class, but I'm not sure that the freshmen you're going to see are really going to be impact freshmen for the most part anyway. It's early in the year. They're going to have a chance to blossom. They're going to have a chance to adapt, hopefully get in those midweek games and sort of prove themselves, particularly on the pitching staff. I think the opportunities are there for guys, but that hunger, that ability to not get down 3 or 4 runs and just, well, we'll see how we do tomorrow. I mean, this team fights, and Bakich knows how to instill that in his clubhouse and his dugout. He seems to also know, I would say, judging early on this season, that he probably has the ability to suss out, hey, who's got that? Who's got that it factor? Who's got that fire in them for all 9 innings, like you said? What you and I used to joke about Luke Donald in the backdoor top 10 early on Sunday and on the PGA Tour. And hey, they play 72 holes, is what I would say, right? Well, they play
Well, you
nine
made
innings of
fun of me.
baseball.
You made fun of me for saying Luke Donald was a back 10, top 10 king. I mean, or backdoor top 10 king. You made fun of me for that. But no, you're right. Look,
Made
and
fun of the
here's the thing.
term, not the person.
Well, that's true. Here's
Yeah.
the thing, too, is they are playing a lot of guys,
Yeah.
right? They are getting a lot of guys playing time. Yeah, everybody does that in the midweek. Okay, that's fine. But, even the game Tuesday night or Tuesday afternoon, look, I love seeing Jay Dillard play for this Clemson team because I'm related to him, but he got some innings in the Tuesday game. Guys like that who you might need if there's injuries. You might need if, hey, some guy's in a funk and we got to sit him for a couple of days just to get his head straight. Well, Jay Dillard, we need you to play. Or, McClatty, we need you to play. Whoever.
Right.
We need you guys to step up and play. Or, so you're seeing that. Jack Crichton has started playing a lot the last week or so and is hot. Purify has been on fire for 2 weeks.
Player of the week, yeah.
Yeah. So, and he's really settled in as the everyday second baseman.
Mhm.
But, maybe somebody needs a day off and somebody else has got to play. And they've got guys who are playing. So, Eric Bakich said this before the season, they might be in their lineup 15, 16 deep. Well, you got to get those guys playing time.
Yeah.
And they're doing that. So, yeah, maybe there's going to be some growing pains with that. And even Crazy Daniel has to live with that at times. So, and he's trying. He's really trying. Reasonable Daniel, who you're talking to right now, has tried to keep Crazy Daniel in the background. But, you would like to see them play clean baseball, and they are for the most part. The defense has been really good. Nobody's perfect. The defense has been good. The pitching, for the most part, has been good, and the pitching was great against South Carolina. That has to be, kind of a jumping off point for this team. You'd like to see the rotation settle in and go a little bit deeper on the weekends, and we'll see this weekend when they open ACC play how far they push the rotation. But I think they're in a pretty good spot right now.
Yeah, Jimmy Bellinger earning his money as pitching coach, and you and I liked that hire from the outset.
Yep.
Glad to see just how well things are going. And yeah, that was to me the big turnaround was especially the pitching stepping up to answer the call against South Carolina, where it started out a little slow. And you know what I say that typically in baseball you hear it in spring training for the majors. You know, the hitters start out ahead of the pitchers. You just have to kind of be patient with them and give them time to come around and turn things on. Of course, when you're trailing, you wish your hitters were ahead of the other team's pitchers
Yes.
too, and they can't always be. The other thing I'll say about managing the lineup is look no further than your world champion Los Angeles Dodgers of Major League Baseball. And the job,
Stop
the
bringing that
I
up.
was looking for some gear. I don't have any gear in the office here with me. Dave Roberts, for all they talk about with all the spending, Dave Roberts brings guys in and out of that lineup all year long, day in, day out. He's mixing in a Kike Hernandez, a Chris Taylor, Andy Pajas, James Outman, amid all those stars. Tommy Edmonds moving up and down the lineup ever since they picked him up late in the season last year. Those are the kind of things that I see Bakich doing so far early this season, and it's really working well. He's picking all the right times, it would seem, and he understands what his players are capable of. Clearly, he's talking with Jack Leggett and the rest of the coaching staff about, hey, who can we lean on today? How can we mix things up today? And keep everyone happy. All those transfers didn't come here to sit, they came here to
Right.
play. And you've got these freshmen these freshmen who you need to be developing. So, like you said, that's going to be a balancing act. And so far, Bakich and his staff look up to the task. And I just think it's going to be a very exciting season. I wish hotels in Omaha weren't $500 a night, and I don't want to get too far ahead of things with that because a lot has to line up for that to come together. I'll tell you what, another thing I've been noticed about spring training is what a buzzsaw Clemson ran into in Jack Caglianone because he is tearing it up in preseason so far in the spring training. Talk about a hitter who's ahead of the pitchers. He has been that, and his talent is translating. So, kind of no shame in what happened with that guy. I wasn't a big fan of his personality per se, but the ability is just on fire and indisputable. So, again, Clemson's got a lot to think about, and so do we with everything going on campus. But I'm really I can't remember the last time I was this excited in mid-March about both baseball and basketball in the same year. Can you?
Yeah, it's been a while, right? I mean, when basketball's had runs, typically baseball has struggled. And, even this time last year, we were a little iffy on basketball. And then they played the way they played against Boston College in that first round game. There's a lot of good stuff going on campus. I mean, my goodness, Bill, look at the two tennis teams are both ranked and playing. I mean,
Lacrosse,
and look, I remember Clemson tennis being good when I was growing up. And
right?
the
Chuck
lacrosse
Crease
team
was the
had
men's coach back then.
right. Lacrosse team had a bit of a stumble the last week or so, but I mean, they were a top 10 team until, these last two losses. The softball team, after looking really bad at the start of the season, has played really, really well.
Turning it around, absolutely.
Yep.
So we will keep people posted on all of it. We're not just about football, even though our webpage is clemsonkickoff.com and our YouTube channel is at Clemson Kickoff. All our social media handles are that way as well. But we will keep you posted on all the things going on around campus in springtime. There's just a lot of success to be had right now. Track and field doing pretty well also, some, at least on an individual basis with several faces being circulated on social media for their accomplishments. So can't turn your back on them either. Well, we will keep an eye. I think spring football is also going to be right around the corner, and we'll talk a little more about that as we did in our previous episode. Right here, you can find us, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Come to ClemsonKickoff.com and check out what else we have to offer there. Until our next episode, I'm Bill Zimmerman.
I'm Daniel Shirley. Go Tigers.